Hi everybody, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. It is the weekend, October 21st, and of course this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at last week, had some earnings coming out, and then we'll look ahead and what we got coming up this week. Lots more earnings, so let's get down to it. All right, so let's get down and look at what happened last week for starters. All the market indexes, we were pretty much down on the week. Powell came out and made some pretty stark comments, I would say, about restrictive policies going forward. Others felt he stuck more of a dovish tone, and actually, if you looked at the chances of a rate hike in November, it went to almost zero, and the chance of a December rate hike also dropped. So some differences of opinion on what his message was, but certainly traders and investors certainly took it as negative and really sold the market off. Started Wednesday and then really took off Thursday and Friday on those comments. So oil continues to be strong. Gold prices remain strong. I mentioned that in the video last week, and I've been in gold through the week here. It's worked out quite well. You can see their index is all down for the week pretty significantly. The Qs, the tech sector leading the way. Consumer defensives and energy, only the green sectors on the week. Real estate, consumer discretionary, biggest losers. You can see the 10-year is really taking off here, up almost three bips on the or 30 bips on the interest rate from 4.62 last week to 4.9. You can see we're closing that gap, and the interest rates are about to or uninvert, if you want to call it that. The 2 years pretty much staying around that 5% level, but the 10 years coming up to it. Dollar weak, just a little bit weak on the week, and of course Bitcoin really took off here. Again, I'm not sure if it's sort of becoming like gold, sort of a safety trade, but Bitcoin again popped above 30,000 there, pulled back after that, but Bitcoin's been pretty strong this week. So there you go. That's kind of the way the week shaped up. Wasn't good for the markets at all. All right, and before we get into looking at some charts here, I always like to do a quick plug for my book on Amazon. There's one, How to Swing Trade, Rules, Routine, Strategies of a Swing Trader. And then, of course, I've got my newer one there, Profiting as an Active Trader, sort of a similar theme. A little more information in that book, so you can check it out there on Amazon. So let's get down and look at some charts here. And you can see we'll always start with the treasuries, and you can see we're still stuck at that 5% range. We've been there for months, basically, not going anywhere. The 10-year, however, really took a big, has been trending up and really took a big jump here on last week. You can see we actually didn't get quite above 5%, 4.98 on the 10-year. I thought we did poke our head above 5 there, but maybe not. But you can see here, and the 10 years coming up, closing that gap on the 2-year and probably re-inverting if we keep going. But this 5 level seems to be a pretty significant area of resistance. We might get a bit of a pullback next week on that, on the 10-year. But it's certainly heading towards uninverting. Transports, pretty much a disaster here. We've broken down to new low on the daily. You can see here making a new low on the weekly. It's just been down, down, down for the last since the end of July. We've been just heading lower, and of course this is a indicator of economic activity. But we are getting into an area where you might think there'll be some support. Really getting oversold here on stochastics. The Dow, again, the Dow's looking dour. It's we did kind of break out here, and now we're pulling back and not looking very healthy here. We're coming down to an area again where there is some support, probably around this 33,000 level. We may test that next week, but I'd be watching at least for a possible bounce on the Dow. And of course, this is the weekly, again, looking like we're getting into an area, could be some support. Same with the Qs, we're right into an area of support here. You can see the selling, volume has really picked up. This is more institutions selling, stepping in and selling, so some nervousness there. but we are at an area of support. So, and the weekly, you can see the same thing, weekly volume kind of picking up there. And on the SPY, you can see here we're down at same level, and the volume again really high. Sort of repeating myself here, but all the indexes looking like they're down at critical areas of support, areas we've tested before in October, early October. Maybe going to retest those. The IWM obviously really has been suffering the most, and the small caps do suffer the most when we go into something like a recession. But again, this 160 level seemed like an area where we kind of held back a year ago, and I'd be looking for a possible some support there. The VIX really breaking out here. We're above the 20 level, which we've been struggling to break out above, and now we're above there. A lot of people going into the weekend were a little bit nervous about holding, depending on what's going on in the Middle East. So definitely some concern there. The dollar, you can see here we're kind of narrowing into a pennant. I haven't done a lot, and kind of flattening out here on the weekly. We are at an area of prior resistance up here, so not surprising we're stalling there, and maybe we might even be rolling over a little bit on the dollar. Which will help, of course, my gold trade. And you can see here we're pretty close to 30,000 on Bitcoin. And it's flirting with that level. And next level, where's the high here? This high was almost 32,000. If we can break through there, wouldn't be shocked to see it trading at 35,000. And that's it for what happened last week. And let's take a look at some stocks we got on watch here. Apple, I think, is going to go lower. Again, we have to be very careful about trading going into earnings. As you know, we've got a lot of earnings coming up this week. So you have to be careful and cognizant of what is going to be reporting, because depending on how you trade or what your trade book is, my personal opinion is I don't like to hold swing trades through earnings, but you may have a different opinion on that. But that's always watching to make sure we're not getting exposed to an earnings report with some really big moves. So Apple, you can see here, I think Apple's not reporting next week, but you can see here's some prior level that I think we may be heading to on Apple, 170. It certainly looks like it's dropping, and this 182 is definitely an area that would be resistance. 180 is kind of where we tried to recapture this gap. So possible short some calls or some puts on the downside. AMD, again, AMD sort of trading in this range. This is an area where there should be some support right around 100. Not surprising in this moving average, 99. So we should be able to see some support like we did here at the 200-day moving average. So AMD, again, semiconductors really taking a beating here over the last couple days. Again, gold, I mentioned gold last week. Really liked the way it traded this week. You can see this was an area that I flagged as resistance, and sure enough, that's where we did get a stalling and pullback. So I did sell some of my gold position up in this 30 level equivalent, and just holding some, and we'll see if it starts to roll over. But again, had a nice move on that this week. JP Morgan's kind of interesting here. They did report, you can see here, that was that report, and then we had a big sell-off after their report. Banks are really difficult here. This is where JP Morgan should see some support, somewhere around 140, 141. Lulu, I'm not really advocating trading this one, but this is one I did trade last week, just as an example. It came out with the news about it being added to the S&P. Had this huge pop-up on this day. This was a great opportunity. I said right from the get-go I was looking to short it through selling calls, and we got this day, and then the second day again couldn't keep going. Momentum wasn't there. And you can see big volume bar on the second day, and it ended up down. So I did short the 430 calls, and they expired worthless at the end of the week. So that was a great opportunity to to do a trade like that. Of course, it didn't hurt that the market sold off pretty hard. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday really dragged Lulu and the rest of the stocks, especially the consumer discretion stocks, dragged them all lower. Meta, Meta had some 305 calls. It stayed up until it started rolling over here latter part of the week. I had the 305 puts, I should say, and got out of them. But they would have expired worthless, but it was just getting a little too dicey for me. So I did exit some of them earlier in the week, and then the rest on Friday as it was going lower. So still a profitable trade, but not great, as good as it could have been if it had held on there. But Meta is reporting this week, so I'm not advocating a trade one way or another on Meta. NVIDIA is coming down to a pretty important area of support, this say 405, 406 area, and I'd be watching for some support here. I don't think they report next week. I think they report the week after. So again, just be careful. I don't think there is any big semis reporting this week. Silver, again, this was another trade I had on, and again, really nice pop. This was an area where I thought there'd be some resistance, so I did sell some on Friday and still have a small position on that as well. Tesla reported. You can see what happened, the big gap, and really sold off, and now it's below the 200-day moving average. It's really hard to say where there's some support here. I have to go to a weekly. Let's take a look at it on a weekly basis. And again, here we've got these this sort of 200 to 203 level. Looks like it could be an area where Tesla may try to find some support there. But shrinking margins, more challenging business environment for Tesla as more competition comes into the market. This was a trade I flagged last week. I really wish I had taken it, but I didn't. Consumer discretionary really took a beating last week, and you can see here we lost this sort of area that's been significant support here. It's too extended now to trade to the short side, but it might bounce a bit next week, just based on the fact that it's quite oversold. But stochastics indicate that momentum is definitely going down, and it might just be a short-lived bounce. If we do get back to this level, it might be a good area to support it or to short it, because prior support now becomes resistance. So might be keeping an eye on that level for maybe an opportunity to short if we do get a bounce. And that's about it, everybody. Okay, so let's wrap things up here. There's where your indexes are, support and resistance. You can see we're pretty close to some of these levels of support on all the indexes. So looking for maybe a bounce next week, possibly. See if we can stay above these levels of support. As far as economic news goes, we do have the Friday. This is going to be the big number everyone's watching, PCE number. This is the price index number that the Fed favors in terms of watching for their inflation gauge. And then, of course, we got consumer sentiment at 10 on Friday, so some big numbers there on Friday. Probably going to cause some market volatility there. And as far as earnings go, big week of earnings coming up. I think over 160 companies reporting in the S&P alone, big ones. Got Coke and Microsoft, Alphabet, Snap. And then if you look in the following day, we've got Boeing in the morning, Meta in the afternoon, Thursday, Amazon after the close, Intel, CMG, Chipotle Grill, and we've got some of the oil companies coming up here, Valero, and we've got, of course, Exxon and Chevron, and I think even Phillips thrown in there on Friday. So that's it, everybody. Hang on to your hats. It's going to be another crazy week, and look forward to seeing you in the Bear Bull Trading Room live on YouTube, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll be trading the market open as always with our members, so 9:30 on that. So take care, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll hopefully see you Monday morning. Bye for now.